Welcome to the Two Wealth Show, a show that shares how you can create real wealth for you and your family. I'm one of your hosts, Justin Bogard, and my co-host is Elizabeth Sickles, aka Super E. I am a real estate note investor, specializing in performing residential real estate debt. I find the deals, acquire them for my own portfolio, as well as educate investors while walking them through the process of owning a real estate note. My co-host Super E, a real estate investor, specializing in short-term rentals and the management of them. She connects investors with short-term tenants and manages everything in between. Our show is sponsored by PATHNOTES and Elizabeth Maora. You can find out more information by visiting our websites at BrightPathNotes.com and ElizabethMaora.com.
So welcome to the Two Wealth Show, where we teach you all about how to invest for you and for your family. So I'm Elizabeth Sickles.
And I'm Justin Bogard. And today we're going to be focused on talking about what's going on today in today's market with real estate and our specific niche businesses, and what we're going to look forward to getting into and what the outlook is going to be like, in our safe projections. In 2020.
Exactly. So the show is sponsored by BrightPathNotes and by Elizabeth Maora.
Yep. And you can find us on our websites, brightpathnotes.com and elizabethmaora.com. So, Super E, we had a good episode again. Number 3. This is episode number 4. And we talked a lot about our 2019 accolades and what we look like for 2020, what we want to do. And so that kind of is a good segue into exactly like what's going on right now, what's going on in these businesses, and what does it look like for the future. And so why don't you kind of start off and just tell me, where is the short-term rental game at today for EM, and where is it at in general for everybody?
Sure. So overall for this industry, we're at $160 billion.
That's it?
That's it. Globally. We had some big announcements last year with Marriott entering into the short-term rental space. So they now have 5,000 properties that you can book through Marriott that are properties, that are homes and villas, and that's actually what it's called. So the fact that they're in our space is a really, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because they are members of the Hotel Lobby Association, which is extremely powerful. So it's interesting because they lobby against us, but now they're in our space, and in some cities, they're still lobbying against short-term rentals. So we have a lot of dynamics going on. We have a lot of private money, a lot of institutional money also in the industry. So we have a company over on the West Coast called Videocast. They've had over $500 million raised in money, in funding, $525 million.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Their last raise was $319 million. So they manage over 20,000 properties actually all around the world. And what they've done is, they're still privately owned, but they will buy up smaller mom and pop property management companies, and that's how they've grown so quickly. I actually got a letter from them last year.
No, you did?
I did, yes. So they have a really interesting business model. So a lot of money. We have a lot of software that has entered the game. So technology is huge in the in the short-term rental market. Yeah. Everything from the 4-digit codes to get into a property to virtual concierge service. We use those in our properties, where you can talk to Alexa to ask Alexa all kinds of information.
I saw that on one of your social media posts. That was so cool, because you were just like, or you had a card, I think, that displayed like, tell Alexa this information, and all of a sudden, it's like opens up a new world. Are you scared that Alexa or Amazon's listening in on people in your short-term properties? You
can now tell them you can say a certain phrase so that they will not listen to what's going on.
What is that phrase?
I can't remember right now, but it was actually...
Google it.
Yeah, so we just finished CES, the Consumer Electronics Show.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big things, was actually privacy. And there's a lot of court cases going on right now, too, regarding privacy. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But in the vacation rental space, too, just on the software side, one of the companies we used to use, Beyond Pricing, they do they use algorithms to change your nightly pricing depending on a lot of different variables. They just had a raise. Their last funding round was over $40 million.
Oh, wow.
I was at a conference last month in New York City, and the second person I met there at breakfast was a VP at Goldman Sachs.
Really?
Yes, because they want to know how to play in the vacation rental industry.
Yeah, they're missing out.
They are missing out.
They're missing out huge time.
Yeah, so it's huge,
Yeah.
institutional money as well as a lot of smaller money as well. So we've really seen the growth in this market. Airbnb is going to be going IPO this year. That's one of the most anticipated IPOs. So it's going to be exciting to see what ends up happening with that. Pre-IPO, the shares are selling at $175 per share, which is very high right out of the gate.
Yeah,
So
seems high.
yes,
And I'm not a stockbroker by any means, but it does seem high.
it's
I was thinking a penny, maybe 2 pennies.
that would be great.
Yeah.
They would all be sold.
Yeah.
So it's an exciting time to be in the vacation rental industry for sure. Lots of big numbers, lots of big things going on. We have a lot of people that are switching over to renting vacation rentals, short-term rentals. We have, just some challenges within the industry itself. There's actually talk about what do we call them, because now we have urban rentals as well.
Okay.
So really, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So, some really, really big topics, big things going on. And then if we kind of drill down, one of the other things that's going on in our industry, at least, and I'm interested to hear from the note perspective, is on regulations. So for us here in Indianapolis, our team, we really want to be ahead of any regulations. So we do a lot of safety stuff in our properties. There's actually a lawsuit going on right now in one of the states towards the west where 4 people died in a fire.
Oh.
Because don't quote me on this, but I'm thinking that there wasn't a fire extinguisher in the property, or it wasn't where it was supposed to be, which is, just so you know, fire extinguishers are supposed to be hung on the wall.
Yeah.
So, so it's going to be, we're keeping an eye on all of that stuff, and we just want people to run safe and effective rentals, but that's really, regulations are going to be a huge part of where this industry is going and where it's been and where it's going.
Yeah, they can be good, and they can also be a stopping point for you as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the note business has had its ongoing battle since Dodd-Frank, January 10th of 2014, or whatever the exact date was, and it put kind of the kibosh on banking part of the business, to where the underwriting process and how they originate loans is a lot more stringent, and it's less forgiving, and it's very, in the bottle, so to speak, to where it's like if they don't fit it, they don't know what to do with you. So a lot of people can't get homes because they can't get any help from lending, which is where seller financing comes into place, because us as private investors, we can have those homes that are ours, that we sell for investments. We can also carry back the note on that, which makes us the bank. And so Dodd-Frank and the CFPB rules basically say that us as investors can only do 3 of those a year.
Oh, really?
With the preface that you have to do third-party underwriting, and you have to have everything done in this type of way.
Okay.
Because you're considered a business at that point. So before Dodd-Frank, it was unlimited. You could write as many loans as you want as an individual, as an LLC, as multiple LLCs that are a group of, or a family of companies. And now you can only do 3. And so what we've discovered is that we have a couple of vendors that are underwriters that can actually underwrite in every state, and they're qualified. It's all legal, and so we can get around this issue. It costs a little bit of money, but it's actually ends up being the right thing to do for the borrower and for you as the investor, because then you get a qualified borrower that has a high score, so to speak, in the ability to repay, which is most important. Because credit score, a lot of people worry about, well, what's their credit score? I'm like, why does it matter? Can they afford to pay? Is the real question. Why does their credit score matter? I don't care if they have a 500 credit score. I really don't. I mean, if they show that they can make a payment. And obviously you want to have a track record, and you'll look at things, but that's ultimately what it comes down to, is you have to have some third parties involved that can help you get the borrower to make sure it's the right borrower, it's the right fit for them with the terms and what's the agreed upon situation there with the interest rate and the payment. How long do they make the payments? And so locally here, they've been putting the kibosh on kind of land contracts, and we've gotten we've been trying to push back on it, and we did a good job of deflecting that bill that kind of came across, and now it's kind of creeping back up, I hear now. And basically land contracts are kind of bad to write anyways, because you end up just being the deeded owner. And so what we kind of coach and educate people on is like, why have the land contract when you can just create the note and mortgage? You don't have to worry about these laws that they're creating with land contracts. You just create the note and mortgage, and you're the bank anyways, and it's all legal. You go through underwriting. You can go through this is one of the services that we provide, but people can do this on their own as well, and they can go through one of their loan servicers to do this sometimes. And so we found a way, not way around it, we found the right way to do it, and we found the way that we're compliant with all the laws and rules and regulations, and that's how you do it. So if you do have a land contract, the good news is you can actually still convert that to a note and mortgage. It really is an agreement between you, the seller, or the bank, and the borrower. It doesn't matter who's on the outside looking in. It's what does the borrower and the seller agree to, and they can renegotiate terms at any point. And that's what's beautiful about it, is that you just offer it up to the borrower and say, would you like to be the deeded owner? This is going to be a note and mortgage. I'm going to step away, and have less liability here, and less, not be on the deed, pretty much, because you get tax liens. You get weed liens, you get code enforcement violations. All that stuff goes to the one on the record, right?
Okay.
And so that's kind of my spiel on regulations with land contracts and note and mortgages. And it's at a federal level.
Okay.
With the Seller Finance Coalition that we have, they're fighting it through Senate and through House to try to get that bill amended to where they'll allow 24 transactions in a year without having to go through the underwriting and stuff.
Oh, wow. So instead of 3,
Yeah.
24. Wow, that's a significant
Yeah,
difference.
it's a significant jump, and they're not, the right way to do it, obviously, is to go through underwriting if you're going to do several of them. That's just the right way to do it, because you are trying to make a business out of it. But that's what we're trying to do as a Seller Finance Coalition, is to get that bill amended. So that's kind of our big regulation right now.
Okay.
So what's going down in the market now for the note space is exactly that, seller financing. We find that real estate has been at the top of the market for a while now. It's still there in certain pockets. It may be dipping, it may be climbing, but overall, in general, it's kind of right there at the top. It may be rising just a little bit or flattening out. And so now is the time that we discover that having the seller carry back the financing is actually a very strong play right now. So banks are just not lending after a certain amount, like usually around $80,000 or $100,000, and sometimes the valuations are too high, or the bank's valuations come in lower than the purchase pricing, and this is where seller financing can be kind of strong. So as long as people have a sizable down payment, like 15, 20% down, that's a pretty good chunk for these $70,000, $80,000, $100,000, $120,000, $130,000 homes that you're selling for, that you can get sizable down payments, so they show emotional equity. They have actual equity in the house instead of putting down $500. And so it just becomes a real nice situation. So seller financing is really hot right now, and that's what we're showing people how to do it and how they can capitalize on their real estate and not have to pay all the capital gains at once, and they can just slowly pay it. And so it ends up being a longer play, but it ends up making you wealthier, hence the Two Wealth Show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can you do notes overseas? Can you do international notes?
Well, I'm sure that you can, but I don't. I don't know how it works. I'm sure in a different country they have different laws. We've had people that invest over here in the U.S. from other countries, and they kind of tell me that the note business is not really a business in the other countries, as it is in our country. We're always trading paper. So that's a great question. I don't have an answer for you, but I would be interested to know. So maybe I can talk to some of our international investors and find out what is it like to have a note in that country.
overseas.
Yeah. And most cultures are different than us. I mean, you know, us Americans, we want debt. Other countries don't want debt at all. So they strive to create cash investments, right? They want to pay off all their debt. They don't want any debt. And we want all the debt.
Yeah. Speaking of other countries and kind of how they do finances and stuff, I just read an article this morning on a new kind of industry in tech is the whole banking, because different religions have different way they look at finances. Like Muslims will not accept interest. So now, they have startups. Yeah. They have startups now that are these banking startup apps.
Okay.
So that if you put $100,000 in there, you're not going to get the 1% interest that you get if you put it into a normal bank. So it's a very hot tech area. So is creating these religious banks and other things. So
I had no idea.
Isn't that interesting?
That is very interesting.
So, and so just kind of going into as well, like where we're going in the vacation rental space is much more into the professionally managed areas. So we still see a lot of mom and pop, and some of them do a great job at it. But we also have people that they just literally throw properties up on the listings. So, so I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that, just as customer demand, customer reviews they're going to dictate that, number one. And then two, just on kind of the regulation side as well, things that are going to have to be required in these properties and of the property management company.
Yeah.
So we see a big difference coming up. It's not going to be a real immediate one, but definitely within the next 3 to 5 years, there's going to be a huge divergence in the industry because of that.
Do you feel like the price point that you can get for a daily rental is going to kind of stay the same, or do you feel like it's going up, or does it depend on the market and the geographic area?
I think it'll go up.
I was anticipating that answer, but you don't know.
Yeah, no, it's going to go up. And one of the things too, it's kind of interesting because, we do a lot of education here. And so some of the other companies, like as soon as I found out that fire extinguishers actually need to be mounted, because all of ours were under kitchen sinks.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that's where they went. And so I let the other hosts that I know around here, and then we also did some social media on it. And so it's an expense, right? So when other companies have the same type of expenses that you have, everything has to go up, right?
Yeah.
So, and customers don't mind paying that additional pricing because they have the property that's fully ready for them.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I would want when I'm vacationing, right?
Absolutely.
So, where's that fire extinguisher at? Now I'm thinking about the Airbnbs that I've stayed at. Where has this fire extinguisher been? So I don't know if it's been readily available on a wall. But I haven't stayed in Indiana. There have been other states. Okay. So it wasn't one of your properties.
But in your note space, where do you see things going for here in the States?
Well, like I said before, I'm preaching on seller financing. Mm-hmm. It's just really, really a good fit right now. People need the financing, and the sellers should consider carrying the financing for the borrower. It's just a great way to build your bank, because you don't have to keep the note forever, right? Mm-hmm. You can sell the note, and that's what's cool about it. You just treat it just like real estate, except you're on a different side of real estate. You're just in the paper part of it.
So you could even have a client that sells the property, you write the note for them, right? Or they stay on, and then they say, hey, Justin, we've had this for a couple of years and we want to sell it. So then you could find somebody to buy that note, right?
We've definitely built a database of people that buy and sell, and we like to, kind of marry the two together. Mm-hmm. So if someone's looking to sell their loan, either, we could be an opportunity investor to buy it, or one of our investors that we work with already may be a person that can buy it as well. So note space is cool.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Definitely some fun things coming up in both of our industries.
Yeah.
Especially, we have an election year.
That's right. It is election year.
So it's going to be big in several different ways. So we're excited for the outlook of the vacation rental industry. We do think rates are going to go higher. I'm a big advocate. It's one of the things that my team and I are also advocating for this year is for people to raise their rates. It helps helps everybody. So
Yeah. It's like the reverse of rent control.
exactly.
It's like rate control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I like that.
So
All right. Well, I think that's all the time we have for this episode. This is episode number 4 of the Two Wealth Show. I'm Justin Bogard.
and I'm Elizabeth Maora Sickles, aka Super E.
Super E, baby. And we're sponsored by BrightPath Notes. You can reach them at brightpathnotes.com and Elizabeth Maora, which is elizabethmaora.com. So, until episode 5, see y'all later.
Thank you.
The Two Wealth Show is produced by Justin Bogard and Super E, sponsored by BrightPath Notes and Elizabeth Maora. Thanks for listening and watching for our show.